Welcome to the Quantum Empath. I'm your host, Kelley Michelle, intuitive guide, alchemist, and reality hacker. This is a space where esoteric knowledge, ancient wisdom, personal development, and quantum physics meet to help you shift your frequency, break old patterns, and step into the life your soul came here to live. Let's expand your awareness, upgrade your energy, and create your dream reality, one episode at a time. Let's begin. Good day to you, friends. You found me again. It's great to have you here with me. I don't expect this journey to be easy. I just spent the last hour trying to edit a podcast that I recorded, and I jumbled that thing up into so many different pieces that I can't even fit the puzzle back together anymore. So I'm going to start over and see if I can take you back into the place I was before I almost lost my mind. And that was sharing more of my journey with you on how I started this process to begin with. Because back in 2020, when I was going through the great awakening process and in my dark night of the soul, I was a conspiracy theorist, and I had hours and hours that I would listen to all day. And just recently, it has come back into my feed, some of the stuff that I used to listen to back then. And I think there's another big wave happening. Word on the street, I don't know, I'm not watching the news, but what's showing up for me is that a lot of the stuff that I was researching before is starting to come to the surface again. And there are a lot more people who are starting to see through the veil. The veil is thinning, 222 on my timer, and I think people are exhausted. They're tired of fighting with family. They're tired of feeling overworked. They're tired of being overstimulated. They are overspending, overeating, overmedicating. And I think people are just trying to, at this point, get by. And, friends, if I could tell you there is a different way, if I could shine a light on a way of life that is so joyful and blissful and sovereign, and it's so simple, but most people can't handle it. And the truth is, 333 on my timer, that in order to have a happy life, you really need to go within. And I say that not as somebody who is here to correct you, persuade you, tell you what to do. Is not my intention. This is speaking purely from a place of what I did and how it changed my life. Are you ready? I turned off all the negativity. I turned off anything that had me living in fear, scarcity, lack, guilt, shame, and that looked like tuning out of politics. That looked like tuning out of religion. That looked like tuning out of television. That looked like turning off all of the rabbit hole podcasts. And I had to just stop, because as an empath, I was carrying around the weight of the world on my shoulders. And guess what? We aren't designed to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. If you think about it, back in the day when newspapers used to be written for their community, the news, before the AP got involved, news used to stay local. And you would pick up that newspaper and you would see information from your area that concerns you. But now, because of technology, television, computers, phones, internet, all of that, and streaming television, where the media is on 24/7, it's like this food source for us that just keeps us distracted, fighting in this low vibrational realm. And to me, when I say I escaped the matrix, what I mean is that I escaped the programming that the matrix, the controllers of the world, if you will, have figured out that if we keep them in fear, if we keep them in scarcity, if we keep them in guilt and shame and tell them they're sinning, we don't let them think for themselves. We feed them information, and you end up not really doing much with your life. You end up being the person who goes to the same job day in and day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And you wake up 20 years later and you're like, what the fuck? Where did my life go? What am I doing? And what do I have to show for it? And I think that we need to change that dynamic. AI is allowing more people to transition out of the workforce than ever. If you think about all the jobs that are being replaced by AI. But the really cool thing is that we still need humans. We still need human connection. And there's something different about a podcast or a YouTube video that you receive that is actually spoken by a human, a light being, and an AI computer. And those are the places that you, if you are willing to do the work and remember how powerful you are, that you could actually step into a role where you can help people with your gifts, with the special, unique qualities that your insights and that your upbringing and your perspective on the world is so uniquely you, but that most people are afraid of stepping into because they are in such a program of fear, lack, scarcity, anxiety, depression, blah, 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 the system, that you forget how powerful you are. And I was doing that. I was doing it for 48, 49 years. Okay. It wasn't until the last 3 or 4 years that I went, because I turned off all the news and I didn't know what to do with my time. I started getting into spirituality. I started getting into old world history and learning about Tartaria and mud floods and Egypt. And then I went down to the Master Key Society and I started studying philosophers from the late 1800s into the early 1900s. I started studying spirituality, the New Age, Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks, and I started learning quantum physics. And there was even ancient stuff in my research because of Billy Carson and Graham Hancock and creators like that. And so what I would just consume this information just like I had for the rabbit holes. But what I ended up seeing was that even though all these different timelines were all saying the same thing in different words, and I am somebody who sees patterns. And so I need to wrap my mind around all these things. And I'm thinking, okay, so everybody is saying it's a mind game. It starts in the mind. It starts with your thoughts. It starts with your words. It starts with your beliefs. Oh, and your subconscious programming. The subconscious, holy moly, that's 95% of us. We're only 5% conscious of our thoughts. Everything else happens subconsciously. So I thought, okay, I'm on this journey. I'm healing. I'm going down the rabbit hole of learning about law of attraction, attachment styles. I'm learning about codependency. I'm learning about self-love. And I start doing affirmations. I find affirmations. And I start listening to those. So I'm listening to affirmations, but I'm also listening to the world is falling apart. I'm a little bit of both. And I found subliminals. I discovered meditation. And so I was crossing these two different worlds. I was in this in-between phase, if you will. It's kind of like the Truman Show when Truman starts to realize that he is actually being recorded and watched. And he's like, hey, there's something not right here. And so he is becoming observant of his surroundings. He is seeing the repeat patterns when he walks out the door. He sees the same neighbor every day. He sees the same people wave. He starts to realize, oh my God, the same guy goes by on his bike every day at this time. And he starts to see through the system. And I was in that place of seeing, I was in the system, but I was exploring other possibilities. And then I think it was 2022, I went and had my chakras aligned. I had never had that before. And if you don't know what your chakras are, or if you've never had energy work, they are little energy centers that everybody has, even though we don't learn about them in the Western culture. And so I had my chakras aligned and balanced, and the world looked so crystal clear to me that day. And I went for my hike, and the clarity that I had was so intense that I came up with the name of my business that day. I went home, I ordered all kinds of tuning. I already told you guys this story, but I ordered tuning forks and books and started watching videos. And that is the part that got me on the path to my spiritual awakening. I just know that in the work that I am doing here, I am a bridge. I am here to help younger students, whether they're in elementary school or middle school or high school, maybe even college, but I consider myself a high schooler. I don't have everything figured out. And honestly, if somebody says they do, I don't know that I would trust them, because how could anybody have it all figured out? There are too many questions. There are too many lies. There are too many things that have been hidden from us for so long. But I feel like we're also at this point in the process that the planet is raising her vibration and we are going with it. If we choose to, there is a splitting off. There is the possibility of people who are still in the system staying there, in the chaos, in the program. But if you decide that you're exhausted and you're done with playing in the system, then this is a really good place to start, because I have walked it and done the experimentation. This was part of my mission. This was part of the plan, because I agreed to be here at this time to help the collective remember who they are. Okay? So, I am so glad we have connected, and I really look forward to working with you, helping you get clarity on your particular mission that you came here to serve. And I do like to tell people, if you don't know what your mission is yet, that's okay. What we're doing right now is helping you believe in the possibility, helping you see through the program so that you can tap into your intuition and your most authentic version of you by taking off the masks, by coming out of the spiritual closet, and by actually believing that it is possible to do something that you love in service to humanity. And so if you're here, it is because you are meant to be here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.